Sonic Mania is an authentic glimpse back into the 90s. It's a shame that gaming has gotten so much better since then. For those of you who haven't ever played a 2D Sonic game, controlling the blue blur can be a little daunting. Rather than having tight and direct controls like some fat plumbers we know, Sonic and the levels he's put in have a mind of their own, and you more or less steer him in the right direction. Although this is no doubt an intentional design decision, it doesn't make me hate how it plays any less. But let's talk about how Sonic Mania is different from its predecessors. The largest gameplay difference is no doubt the drop dash. The drop dash can be activated mid-air by jumping again, and this will send Sonic into a high-speed roll when he hits the ground. When it works, the new move feels like an awesome addition to Sonic's repertoire. It's a shame that the new move also feels clumsy at times. It is specifically jank when going up on springs. The move doesn't work. It feels like this is when you'd want to use the move the most, as your velocity has changed so much right after going straight into the air. Now that I think about it, jank is the perfect word to describe a lot of my feelings about Sonic Mania. A frequent occurrence is when Sonic swiftly changes direction. You're intended to continue holding the analog stick in the direction you are originally running in, even if you are now running in the exact opposite direction. It's a clumsy control scheme that I never got used to, and I found myself constantly stopping short because of it. In order to perform a spin dash, you need to bring Sonic to a complete halt and then hold down B. Shouldn't everything about Sonic's controls be against coming to a complete halt? You can kind of transition into a spin dash while running, but you're forced to release from the direction you're running in, and thus lose speed, which defeats almost the entire point. The speed of the game also comes to a screeching halt during slower platforming sections, but because Sonic was built for speed, these sections don't feel tight enough to be at all enjoyable. Throughout the entire game, Sonic was either playing itself or making me wish that it was. As you might expect, you can play as Sonic's friends as well. They each have some differences that change up the gameplay. Most notably, Tails can hover and Knuckles can climb and glide. The hover feels off because once hovering there's no way to stop other than to hit the floor, so if you're incredibly high up you can't just make Tails stop spinning his tails and come flying to the floor. Instead you make a slow descent. Knuckles has the opposite problem. Once he's gliding it's like he hits a brick wall when he stops and immediately comes crashing to the ground, no matter how fast you were going. The flexibility to be able to do either of these approaches on either characters would have been welcome to add some flexibility to how you're approaching the platforming. Thankfully, Mania does have some saving graces. Gameplay-wise, Mania has the best boss fights in the entire series, 3D or 2D. Most maintain an incredible sense of speed, and if they don't, they're doing something totally different and unique. It's awesome to see that Mania isn't entirely stuck in the past and is willing to do cool new things. The game's animations are also incredibly charming. Sonic and his companions have never been more expressive. The game really makes them come alive. Visually, the game's levels are incredibly hit or miss. Some levels, like Hydro City and Mirage Saloon, are some of the best looking levels I've ever seen in a 2D game, period. But other levels, like Stardust Speedway Act 2, are a disaster that are tough to look at with tons of visual noise on screen. Thankfully, the audio that accompanies these levels isn't as inconsistent. The soundtrack is a delight to listen to and is undeniably one of the game's strongest aspects. Do yourself a favor and look up some of these tracks on YouTube without me talking over them. Trust me, you won't regret it. Let's talk a little bit about dying in Sonic Mania. Another Sonic staple, rings, are back, and unfortunately they haven't seen any tweaking. Rings act as a pseudo life bar for Sonic. If he's holding rings and gets hit, he will drop all of his rings instead of taking damage. The problem with a system like this is that 1,000 rings and 1 ring are effectively the same exact thing. If you get hit twice, you die. Why not use a system like Generations where getting hit loses some of your rings instead? It feels like an incredible step back. That's not the only way Sonic Mania is stuck wallowing in its own antiquity, however. The game uses a life system. If you lose all of your lives, game over. Having limited lives can be an interesting design decision depending on how you use it in your game, but here, it just feels like a cheap way to artificially prolong the duration of the game. Overall, Mania was a huge disappointment to me. Instead of taking what was good about 90s Sonic and moving him forward, we instead just get 90s Sonic. There's fun to be had here if you're already a fan of 2D Sonic games, but if you're not, this game is not going to do anything to win you over.